Welcome everyone to Meditation Mount. It's wonderful to have you here today. And we are gathered from different parts of the world for this monthly program that we call View from the Mount. So we want to acknowledge that we are standing or sitting or being in different parts of our planet. So let's take a few moments to bring ourselves together, to connect us, and to create a unified field in which we can stand together for our exploration. And the easiest way to do this is simply to relax and follow the breath. So let's do that, taking a deep, gentle breath and allowing any tensions that may have accumulated inside our physical body to be released. And we breathe in a sense of deep relaxation. We become aware of our emotional body, our feelings. And we breathe out anything that may be swirling and causing a distraction at the moment. Breathe it out. Let it go. And breathe in a sense of deep calm. And then become aware of the mind, normally filled with thoughts. And let us release any extraneous thoughts that may be swirling. See them as clouds in the sky being blown away by the gentle wind of our soul, so that our sky, our mental field, is clear and open. And we take another deep, gentle breath and center ourselves inside the heart. And we feel the pulsing of this beating heart. Not only is it circulating the blood, it is also circulating the life force. And at the center of our heart, we can both imagine and sense a flame. This is the fire of love that is our part of the eternal flame. A spark of the one life that lives inside us and connects us with all things. So let us do that by connecting heart to heart to heart, visualizing the power of this love flowing from our hearts to each other, weaving together a group chalice that we know to be the group heart. And we sense the power and generosity that lives inside the group heart. And we bring our attention back to this time and place. So the theme for today is the power of generosity, welcoming the spirit of regeneration. I'd like to give you a little background as to why generosity was chosen for today. So last year here at Meditation Mount, we chose two themes to hold in our awareness that we felt were essential. These were hope and healing, and we've described these before for those of you who have been present with other broadcasts, but just let me repeat for anyone who's here for the first time. We chose healing because of the urgent need to mend and make whole the fractured body of our shared humanity. And hope, because hope contains the eternal and ever-present promise of life. But hope also asks us to create the right conditions in which it can show up and manifest in time and space. So healing creates the right soil conditions in which the seeds of hope can germinate, quicken, and fully flower. So this year, when we tuned in, we got very clearly, very strongly, that the theme for 2022 at the Mount is regeneration. It's a natural follow-on from hope and healing, because regeneration is this continuous fiery process of life being born, dying, being reborn, redying. So what I'd like to do is to invite us today to explore an assertion. And this assertion is generosity is a generative force that fully engages us in the bountiful circulation of that presence we call the one life. So the idea is that we will gently go through an exploration and a reflection, and every now and again we'll stop to ponder and to allow it to, as we used to say, sink in and touch us. So as I speak the words, attempt to feel into the energy behind the words. So they're not just concepts or information, but we are involved in what I would call a psychoenergetic exploration of generosity. So let me start by saying, I believe that generosity encourages a free-flowing circulation of energy throughout a living system. And this generosity blesses and nourishes all of its parts. That's the ideal model. That is what society looks like when it's healthy. But as we're painfully discovering, greed and self-centered action stymie the essential flow of this vital chi force. And that's what we're experiencing. So when we realize that by serving the whole naturally serves all within its embrace, then and only then can we give birth to a healthier society. So what we're facing at the moment is a world that is divided. There seems to be at least two worlds, a self-centered world and a world that seeks to serve the whole. So the question that we need to ask ourselves individually and collectively is, what are we choosing to build a new world upon? What are the values? What are the principles? Are we seeking to build something based on generosity or greed? What will be the driving force in creating a new model for living together? I think we're realizing that life is bountiful, and yet whenever we take from life and seek to hoard and use it for purely selfish gains, it's like embezzling universal energy. And the price of embezzlement is extremely high. And it also adversely affects not only ourselves, but others. So in making these remarks, they're really reflections. They're not condemnations or judgments. They're really reflections on what we have created. And the fact is that we are creative beings. If we've created something that is less than beneficial, then by an act of will, we can together create a society that is benevolent. So how do we do that? And where does generosity come in? So as I said, looking around, it's obvious to perceive two distinct worlds existing side by side. And without being overly dramatic, one could say that one world is decomposing because it's not designed to nourish all its constituent parts, while the other world is being composed by our highest soul-inspired aspirations. I think it's obvious to anybody that understands living systems that the model based on greed must eventually implode because it's not sustainable. There is, however, a model of a new world based on generosity and sharing that's slowly emerging as the wisest and healthiest approach that respects, celebrates, and takes care of all life on our planet. So when I tune into generosity and go deep into what that living presence is, I realize that generosity can only be contacted, only pours forth from a loving heart. Because as we witnessed just a moment ago, it's the heart that pumps the blood around our system. And it's acts of generosity that ensure that the life force circulates around the living system that is our human society, that is our planet. So the root of generosity is love. And if we see love as a connective tissue joining us together with each other and with all creatures on the planet, both visible and invisible, then we begin to understand that generosity is a way of ensuring coherence and well-being in any community of lives. So why be generous? Sort of a strange question to ask. At the deepest level, we give because it's the natural urge of the soul to be generous and to share of its gifts, its bounty. We're often told, be like the sun, radiate your light and your warmth, asking nothing in return. And when I tune into the soul, it's not like my personality when it gets into a place of need. My soul doesn't enter into a transactional relationship with life and demand that it must first receive before it's willing to give. The soul naturally receives and gives. And we've explored this before, that when giving and receiving are no longer experienced as two separate activities or actions, but are joined together like the in-breath and the out-breath, then we have a state of continuous flow. Unconditional generosity creates this flow. So the flow is the unimpeded life force as it circulates through the body of the planet, as it circulates through what I'm calling the universe of self. And this fact first came to my attention many years ago while working at the Findhorn Garden School in northern Scotland. I was with a group of students and we were planting trees. And as we dug holes for the trees and put in some compost in the bottom and then placed the trees gently in, making sure that the roots were well and firmly planted in the soil, and then packed it down and then blessed it, I was realizing that this tree was not in a transactional relationship with life. It was there to give and be, and Mother Nature would take care of its own children. And when I realized that I'd forgotten that I am one of Mother Nature's children, we are Mother Nature's children. So, can we afford to be generous? Another rather silly question to ask. Well, the fact is, you don't have to be rich to be generous. In fact, whenever we're feeling empty or impoverished or disconnected, that's precisely the time to give, because by giving, we reconnect. We re-engage with the great circulation of life. And then we're allowed once again to drink from the spiritual well. It sounds counterintuitive that when you don't have anything, that is absolutely the time that one needs to give, because it brings us back into that circulation. I'd like us to reflect on an aphorism that states, "To those that give, more shall be given, so they may give again." This is very much tied up with the principle of generosity. To those that give, more shall be given, so they may give again. When you go inside of that aphorism, you realize it's about capacity building. The more we give, the more we demonstrate our ability to wisely utilize universal energy for the common good. And as a result, life says, okay, you've shown that you're very wise and loving and being a steward of this energy. Here's some more. Let me expand your capacity. Let me expand the pipeline. So as we give, our psychic pipe expands as more of the life force can flow through and from us. And I was reflecting yesterday on a statement and suddenly connected it with generosity. One definition of spiritual initiation is a greater capacity to carry out divine purpose. Or you may want to phrase it as carry out divine intent, or even the deep desire of the planetary logos. The planetary logos is that great being in whom we live and move and have our being. So it's all about increasing our capacity. So if initiation is a greater capacity to be of service, then generosity is the practice that increases our capacity. Now, generosity takes many forms. It can be simply a heart full of loving kindness, offering a warm and welcoming smile to others in the food store as we stand in line. It can be an act of caring and courtesy while driving on the freeway so that we don't get caught up in road rage. Or it could be the quiet, internal practice of sending loving and supportive thoughts to those in need. So the practice of loving kindness opens up a portal through which the presence of a greater love may flow into our daily life. And it's loving kindness that helps to build what Martin Luther King called beloved community. So if we see our new society that wants to emerge as beloved community, we get a sense of its quality, its generosity. And generosity is generative. So rather than me just using words and you listening, let's pause now and just go into the spirit of generosity. Let us as a group re-enter the chalice that we created to begin this journey. Sense the fire of love burning brightly at its center. And feel the pulsing of this love as our heart beats. And as our heart beats, it sends out from our heart into the world the blessings of love. For we are life communing with itself through love and in love. So let's reflect deeply together now that generosity allows love to enter, and love is the lifeblood that circulates throughout the whole body of creation. realize that we ourselves are being blessed by a great circulation of love, by that being in whom we live and move and have our being, who is also circulating love generously throughout its body, of which we are a part. So let's gently come out of this lived experience and realize that by consciously entering the flow of generosity, we enter what is called the great chain of being, or the great chain of blessing, where we are flowing through life and life is flowing through us. So it really turns everything upside down. In order to have, I don't have to get. In order to have, I have to give. For in giving, one is the beneficiary of receiving. So how do we stay in this constant flow throughout the day? It's not easy. I get pulled into what Michael needs. And when Michael's need starts to become a voice that distracts from this flow, I'm looking at, well, how can I take from here? How can I fill my need? Rather than how can I allow myself to be part of this generous flow called life? Do I dare to trust that life takes care of me as I enter fully into life? So to the degree that I can rid myself of fear and the need of not providing in my life the things I believe I need, then I can enter more fully into this generous circulation. It's circulation that is the key, the hallmark of a healthy body, be it a planet or a human body, is free circulation of energy. And I'll give you an example of how I experienced this and how I sought to promote this free flow. For many years, my favorite pastime was running in the mountains, and I would compete in some of these ultra-marathon endurance races, and where occasionally one would feel incredibly tired and depleted and want to give up, etc., and wants to draw on extra strength. And I would carry with me in my pocket an affirmation, several affirmations that every now and again I'd pull out and read. My favorite affirmation was, I am running through life. Life is running through me. I am running through life. Life is running through me. And this gave me energy to endure and enjoy. And it wasn't just an affirmation, oh, I wish this were true. It was actually allowing the psycho-energetic reality of that statement to flow through my body, to give me life. So it's more than simply reciting words. Generosity is more than just a behavior, an act. Generosity is allowing the love that underlies all creation to pour through us. We become agents of love by becoming agents of generosity in all that we do. So while using this affirmation, I actually could feel the atoms of my body being energized as life flowed through it. And as I flowed through life, I realized that I could run more effortlessly. I was still tired, my legs got tired, my joints ached occasionally, but energetically I wasn't drained. So I just use that as an example of what it means to live inside a flow. How do we allow ourselves to be part of the generosity of life, moment by moment, and then sharing that generosity with others with every encounter. So it's this ability to allow life to move through us freely without getting blocked that allows generosity to be the main ingredient of our life. When I remove a sense of separation, when I remove fear, when I remove the need to take, knowing that my needs will be met as I enter fully into life once again, when I give to the whole system gives to all of its parts. And guess what? I, you, we are parts of the living system. So I'd now like to explore what it means to be part of the living system that we call Gaia. Now, I use the word Gaian quite a lot now. And some people think, well, it's a fancy name, or it's an in vogue description of what it means to be human. It's like, oh, you're using Gaian because it's the in thing to say. Actually, I hold a clear distinction between how I and we are currently acting as humans and the requirements and qualities of being a true Gaian. So here's my take on this. It's still formulating and still building, but this is how I'm currently holding it. As a well-meaning human, I go about my daily business and I seek to respect all life. I am kind. And yet the life that I seek to be kind to is still outside me. It's still the other life. I perceive it not as part of myself. And what I'm learning and what I invite us to explore is when we take the next step and enter into the fullness of our Gaiahood, we actually carry the whole of planetary life within us as we are carried within the whole of the planetary life. It goes back to this notion that each one of us is a fractal of the one life. If that's true, if we, for instance, are fractals of Gaia, then Gaia lives inside of us as we live inside of Gaia. Just as we know that the ocean is made up of billions and billions of droplets of water, and yet inside each droplet of water, there lives the ocean. So having that same sense about being Gaian. So when I and we realize that the rocks and plants and animals live inside us, our bones, our blood, our whole universe of self mirrors and has been created in the same way that our planet has been fashioned. The birds, the insects, the angels, and all those other subtle denizens of the earth live inside of us and comprise who we are. Once again, we are fractals of the one. So to be Gaian is actually to be the planet in and through every thought, word, and deed. It requires practice of letting go of my identity of humanness. It doesn't mean I stop being human. It means my humanhood, my humanness expands into Gaiahood, and now I truly am a representative of the planet because I am the planet. We are the planet. And if that's true, how can we cause harm to ourselves? If we cause harm to something else, we cause harm to ourselves. So entering into this state of being a Gaian also ensures that we take care of each other, we take care of our planet, we love and respect all life. Now, this may sound very prosaic and idealistic, and yet the ideal can only be realized when it becomes an idea, and then it's carried into form. It's practiced. It's how we behave. It's how we show up for each other. It's the principles on what we build our society. Is our monetary system based on generosity or greed? Is our agricultural system based on generosity? We can inquire, and when we build a new society, we need to look at each system to say, is our intent to serve the whole system so that the whole system can serve all its constituent parts? So when I tune into what it means to be Gaian, it goes beyond any words, but the closest I can get to is inside the Gaian consciousness, there is no inside or outside. There's no me or you as I've currently held it up to now. There's no above or below for my mind to grasp. There is simply a sublime state of planetary at oneness, suffused with joy and permeated with a profound and fiery love that knows no bounds. It's like an expansiveness because suddenly I'm in love with Gaia. And Gaia is seeking to express love. So once again, we become agents of love as we become Gaians. Now this has to be carried out each day amid all the noise and all the pollution and all the destruction that's going on around us. And so we need to practice how to stand in these two worlds and how to stand in a place which is not affected by the dissolution and decomposition of one world and one society, but help us to stand in that silent space of the heart, that silent generative space where something new is wanting to be born. My sense that today I wouldn't be using lots of words. Some of our view from the mounts have been 45 minutes long. Some have been 60 minutes long. I don't time it. I just sense what's the right duration to explore this. And my sense that today enough has probably been said. The rest is for us to step into the presence and spirit of regeneration through the portal of generosity. So generosity has been our theme. And just to reaffirm, it is generosity that connects us with life and allows us to be the benevolent agents of this one life, every moment and everywhere we find ourselves. So I came upon a statement from Chagdud Rinpoche a few weeks ago, and it really touched me because it speaks to loving kindness as one of the well springs of generosity. And in this particular statement, the Rinpoche is really telling us to live each moment fully. And these are his words. So let's let them sink into our heart, into our blood, into our bones. From the depth of my heart, I tell you, one moment of kindness to another being, one act of pure intention is worth more than all the wealth in the world when you are dying. So practice now while you can to the greatest possible extent in every situation. This will fulfill the supreme purpose of your life, and at the time of death, you will have no regrets. So Rinpoche's words reminded me of living a generosity, living a generous life is a way of being fully present. Once again, generosity allows life to flow through me and me to flow through life, for us to flow through life, for life to flow through us. So let's just once again re-enter that place of the group heart and sense its generosity, sense its spaciousness and graciousness, filled with the fire of love. And let us consciously participate in the great chain of blessing by being agents of generosity as we send out waves of loving kindness to our world, to reconnect the disconnected body, because love is the connective tissue that holds all of creation together. And let us do this as we normally do. We'll sound the Tibetan bowl 3 times, and at the sounding of the bowl, we simply send out from the power of our group heart a blessing to the world, seeing it touch all life, awakening and calling to all life to join in the generosity that is the one life. So let us stand together in the heart. Take a deep breath and send a wave of loving kindness out into the world. And with the second breath, we breathe out the blessings of love from a bountiful heart to all life. And as we send out our third wave, may the loving kindness of our group heart touch all for whom Gaia is home. Thank you. I know for me it's important that when I use words, that those words can create a space for something deeper to be sensed. So hopefully today was an invitation to really go deep into what generosity means, what the spirit of regeneration is as it seeks to move through us. So thank you all for your presence and participation. And in this spirit of boundless and unconditional generosity, we bid each other farewell. And goodbye, and a deep gratitude from all of us here at Meditation Mount. May we continue to be generous beings, part of a generous universe. May we be agents of loving kindness each day. Thank you.